So if you're watching this, I assume you've had tennis elbow for a long time. It's not going away, and you've already seen the health professionals before, you've got your exercises, you've watched every YouTube video on there except for this one, but you just can't figure out what to do to finally take it away. Well, I'm going to show you exactly what to do with 5 easy steps to help take care of tennis elbow for good. So listen up. And before we get going, you need to subscribe to Riley Rehab on YouTube, because every single week I'm going to be coming up with new content helping you become the expert of your own body. So, tennis elbow. I'm assuming all you guys know everything about tennis elbow if you're watching this, because I'm showing the more advanced things. What I'm going to show you guys is breaking down every single rehab thing that's typically done to make it better. And that's going to start with the most simple one, which is when people talk about stretching it. When people talk about stretching it, they always say, keep your arms straight, hold your hand down, and pull like this, and then you'll feel a stretch in that tendon there in the whole muscle. You hold for 30 seconds, you hope and pray it'll relax and feel better after. And in many cases it will, but if you can't get that feeling better effect, one way that I haven't seen very many people try, but it actually works really well, is to turn your hand, take your hand and turn it in the direction of the pinky, so the pinky is going to go up to point towards the ceiling. Next, you hold on to your knuckle of your index finger, that's the one right there, and you pull it like that. So you're basically doing the same stretch, only instead of pointing down, you point to the sky. And I found this one to be very useful because a lot of times you might do this stretch and you'd feel it more in the wrist than you do here, and that's really not doing the trick for releasing and relaxing the muscle. So I highly recommend for those of you who aren't going to get set off by this and feel you need to take the stretch to the next level, turn that pinky up to the sky and hold it for 60 seconds as well. Second issue I see is with the rehab exercise. I don't have a dumbbell on me, but imagine this is a dumbbell. Obviously you can use a water bottle. People always show the exercise of doing the wrist extension where you go up and then go down, perhaps you go slowly, perhaps you hold your hand up like that. Regardless, the way you can take it to the next level, because sometimes this can be a little hard and this can actually trigger a lot of pain, is you can actually take the pain down while you do this. And the best way to do that is to keep your elbow on the table the way it always is, making sure you have the elbow pressing down into the table. And then you're going to take your hand and hold it onto the upper arm, onto your bicep basically. And what you're going to do, I'm going to exaggerate the motion, but you're basically going to pull your upper arm inwards while keeping the pressure of this on the table. So pressure on, lean down, pull your arm forwards. Make sure you get used to that position, because what you're going to do is from this position here, you're going to proceed to do the wrist curls basically the same way you normally do. The positive though is you'll be able to work on this muscle a lot better, and it'll often be a lot less painful when you do it because you're putting the bones in a better position. This is actually a common treatment that they do in physio clinics as well. As always, you want to stick with your typical rep and set range, make sure you're not getting too sore, follow all the basics. If you want to know the basics, you can always refer to my prior video as well, which I'll post in the link below. And the next tip I have for you guys has to do with doing the massage. This I know is all over. If you YouTube tennis elbow treatments, people will always say, oh, you got a tennis elbow, what do? You got to friction massage it, so you got to find the tendon, rub back and forth until the pain goes away or until the scar tissue is broken down, whatever it is. This actually, I am not trashing this treatment. This can be very, very good at the right place and time. But there's a few things that I need to make sure you guys know, because this is key. Number one, if your tennis elbow is really painful, sometimes doing this will not make it feel better. Sometimes you'll be setting yourself on fire doing this, and you might even be sore for days after. It might not even improve at all from doing this. So you really need to make sure you have the timing right. But if you don't have the timing right, one great alternative is for you to go on that tendon where it's sore, but actually go 2 fingers down. So if I put all 3 fingers, the first one on the tendon, the other 2 here, I'm going to go where I'm 2 fingers down, so on where my 3rd finger is, and I'm going to proceed to, instead of massaging up here, I'm going to massage down here. And you can basically do the exact same thing, but this area will not be as tender. This will actually be a lot softer of an area. In fact, if you find it too tricky to just friction back and forth, just hold it there as well. This way you can still get the benefits of the treatment, you can still get a lot of blood flowing to that area, help improve healing, but you take the risk away of flaring everything up down there. And while we're on that subject, I also need to mention this one, and this is so key. Make sure you don't get addicted to doing this all the time. Make sure you take some days off, because some things that I'll see is as soon as somebody discovers this, and I've been guilty of this myself, is they'll do it and it'll take the pain down and it'll be like, oh yeah, that's great, I can move my arm around. And then they'll do it again because it's hurting later. And then they'll do it and they'll feel good and they'll do it again and again and again. And over time, they'll notice that their pain doesn't really go away. And the reason for that is because you're not always taking the pain away. Like there's a little bit of a spike in pain relief, but after that, you can get a little bit sore. Just kind of the same as if you're working out. So what I recommend is take a couple days off every now and then if you're doing this, especially if you're doing it all the time. Because even as a little experiment, if you were to just go on the other arm, let's assume the other arm isn't painful, and you were to just rub it every day with the same intensity you did on this arm, I guarantee you if you did this for 14 days straight, this arm would start becoming sore. And it would probably go away, but it's still going to become sore. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. You actually do want to take some days off just to see how it's feeling in the long run, and then go back as needed. And the final tip for you guys on tennis elbow is the whole ergonomics thing. So by that I mean keeping your wrist in a neutral position, not bending it too far forward, not bending it too far back. You hear that all the time, especially if you're doing work with your hands, and this is what's causing the tennis elbow. But the thing is, we don't always think that way. Sometimes we might be so busy on a task that we don't even pay attention to that. So what you need is a little secret trick, which I use athletic tape because that's how I roll. But you can really use any tape and just take a roll and put it around your wrist. And it really is just as simple as one strip around, and put it around snugly. No big secrets to this. You're literally just taping a circle around your wrist. It should be snug enough that you feel like it kind of pinching on the skin. Not enough that your hand starts turning blue or anything. But this in itself, it's not going to stop your wrist from bending up and down. It really isn't. But what this actually works as is a great reminder for when you're doing your things, whatever it is, if you're typing, it serves as a reminder to keep your hand in that neutral position, because we won't always realize when we're out of that neutral position sometimes. And it's so easy to say you're doing that. It's the same with posture. But until you have that kind of external sensation where you feel it's there, when we're getting sloppy, we're going to notice, because the moment that hand goes back, you're going to feel the tape tighten up like crazy around the hand. And as soon as it goes forward, exact same thing. So this really serves as a reminder. It's not too restrictive. I obviously could cast somebody's hand if I really wanted to, but this is more of a reminder to keep that position, because this really is one of those things that won't go away overnight. It will take some more time, but you have to make sure that you do everything in your power to take it down. So once again, thanks for watching the video. If you like it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to Riley Rehab, because I'm going to make some more videos every single week, and I shall see you next week.